All right, so now that we've kind of looked at what EEG readings look like, let's actually get into these sleep stages or cycles that we look at. I want you to realize that there are 4 sleep stages. You can see those in the upper right-hand corner. We are going to work through each one, right? So we're going to start with the non-REM stages because that's the process, right? So you're awake, right? That's not sleeping. We're awake. We have those big alpha waves of awake waves. All right. So then there is the stage of falling asleep. This is stage 1. It's also considered non-REM 1. That's kind of how we can see it written if you see it in different literature. Okay. So the falling asleep stage lasts about 5 minutes. I know sometimes when you're laying in bed, you're thinking, my falling asleep stage lasts 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. But in all honesty, what we're considering stage 1 and not being awake, right? The actual falling asleep component is going to last about 5 minutes. Sometimes during this stage, you can have some hallucination type experiences, some jerking, some jumping, right? So like if you are just falling asleep and you think you're dreaming, you're not actually dreaming. That only happens in REM sleep. You're hallucinating. Woo, right? A little bit crazy. So really what is happening during this falling asleep or non-REM stage 1, what is happening is your different cortical areas are like shutting off communication with each other, right? So your brain is still continuing to work, but it's not communicating with itself in the same fashion, right? It's kind of blocking the communication between certain areas a little bit, right? To allow your body to kind of rest, recuperate, and that type of thing, right? So if you ever get that little, like, you're falling asleep and then like you literally feel like you're falling, that is in part a response to your cortical areas, like shutting off communication with each other. And I know that that doesn't happen to me often, but it's happened to me enough, the jerking, the falling asleep, that I know. Interesting thing, right? Personal tale about my husband. Right. I now know, after being married to him for 13 years, right, that when he falls asleep, he always jerks. And at first, it would scare the bejesus out of me, right? Like I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with him? Now I'm like, oh, okay, he's asleep. So he definitely is a stage 1. Oh, all right, there you go. He's out. He's good to go. So that might be you too. All right, so we're awake. We have our little 5-ish minutes of falling asleep in non-REM stage 1. And you're right, you might hallucinate a little bit, you might jerk, you might jump, you might not recall any of that. That's perfectly normal too, right? So then we enter stage 2, non-REM 2. That is the stage of being asleep. Typically, this period's going to last about 20 minutes. And I said this already in the earlier video. Right? Keep in mind, I'm giving you averages, but as you progress through these cycles throughout the night, the exact amount of minutes, right, is going to alter a little bit that you spend in each one of these stages, okay? So a sleep stage is about 20 minutes. During stage 2, this is when people might babble or sleep talk a little bit, those types of things. This is also when we see those spindles that we saw on the previous slide, right? So let me take it back real quickly for us, right? So that's where we're going to see the sleep cycles in that stage. I mean, the spindles are those little bursts of brain activity when we are looking in that regard. So that's something important to kind of keep in mind. But this is just our regular old, we're hanging out, we're sleeping stage. Okay, so you're awake, you're falling asleep, you're asleep, and then we hit stage 3 or non-REM 3, which is your deep sleep. I will tell you, they formally called this, and you can see this in the graph in the upper right-hand corner. They used to actually have stage 3 and stage 4, and they called it stage 3 transition. So I do want you to know, if you're looking at like older literature, it might actually have a 3 and 4. Modern sleep research combines these two things into just one thing, okay? I did want to kind of keep it, at least demonstrated that it was a transition into deep sleep, though, because if you look at older textbooks, if you look at older research studies, it is going to reference it as 4 stages of sleep in the non-REM rather than what we see in more recent research. So that's really important, okay? So during this stage, we are doing that initial transition from our regular sleep to our deep sleep remember during deep sleep, we have those big, large, slow delta waves if we're looking at an EEG reading of your brain. Okay, so that is really, really important. This is the stage in which people, if they bedwet or they sleepwalk, it's going to occur. When we talk about bedwetting is actually really common for people up to 10 years old sometimes. Doctors don't really think it's an issue. And that is because, particularly between the ages of 3 and 12, kids spend a much longer time in deep sleep, and their deep sleep is much deeper than an adult's sleep. So they might not wake up at the sensation of a full bladder that an older person would, because that sleep is so deep. The sensation of the full bladder is not going to wake them up. Another interesting bit in that regard, about 20% of kids between 3 and 12 have at least one sleepwalking incident in their life, but typically only about 5% have repeat incidences of that. You don't need to remember those percentages. I just wanted to share that with you so that you have it. Interesting things to think about when we talk about deep sleep. Deep sleep, right? Even though your brain is very chill, it's very relaxed, you are in deep sleep, which is really, really important. Again, remember, your brain does not shut down. Your brain is still processing information. One of the weird things that we talked about was the fact that when you lay in your bed, right, typically you don't fall out of bed, right? Because your brain is still processing the stimuli. It's still processing the space around you, which is why you are not falling out of your bed. It is typically why, right, if parents co-sleep with their children, with their babies, they aren't rolling over top of them, right, assuming that they aren't under the influence of anything. Okay, right? So interesting little things, right? It's also a very interesting dynamic that we talked about, that if you are used to a train or a car going by, you habituate or you get used to that. But if your baby cries or says your name, you can hear it. I know that when Maggie was born, I tried to do let her sit in like the little, whatever that stinking thing is called, that goes right next to your bed. A bassinet. There you go. I tried to put Maggie in that bassinet. But like, even the sound of her breathing, like, woke me up and made me anxious, and I could hear her breathing, and I had to move her to the other room, because even when she was asleep, I couldn't sleep, because if I heard her breath, if it changed one tiny bit, then it freaked me out, and it brought me out of deep sleep, and I was not sleeping. So Maggie had to go to her own room very, very early, and I just had to get up and go in there when she woke up. Right? Interesting little things. Right? Typically, you're going to hit this deep sleep stage about an hour-ish after you go to bed. Right? But it does kind of vary or depend. Typically, your most of your sleep stage cycles are going to last approximately 30 minutes. Again, these are approximations. These are averages. All right. So what is going to happen after, right? So I fall asleep. I enter sleep, non-REM 1. Sorry, non-REM 1, I'm falling asleep. Non-REM 2, I'm asleep. Non-REM 3, I'm hanging out in deep sleep for a little while. Then what happens is you kind of progress yourself back up from deep sleep to just regular sleep. However, you don't go back to falling asleep, right? Unless you actually wake up in the night, which does happen sometimes too. Okay, so typically it's falling asleep, deep sleep, back to regular sleep, and then you enter this next stage, which is REM. Okay, REM is what happens next. This is your rapid eye movement. This is a period called paradoxical sleep, right? The fact that the two things don't match or they don't mix. And what is happening here is that your brain appears to be completely active as if it were awake. So if you look at an EEG, REM stage looks very similar to your awake brain. However, you have a loss of muscle tone and paralysis. The reason for this, in part, is because this is when you are dreaming and they don't want your body, like your brain doesn't want your body to act out the dreams that are happening. We are going to spend an entire day tomorrow talking about dreaming and the purpose of dreaming. So I'm going to save that for a later time, right? So typically, right, you're going through these cycles, right? And what is going to happen throughout your night is that the period that you spend in non-REM stage 3 deep sleep is going to get shorter and shorter. And then the amount of time that you spend in REM sleep, oh my goodness, I just realized my big old head is in the way. The amount of time that you spend in REM sleep is going to increase. Overall, if you look at your sleep cycle, you should be spending about 20 to 25 minutes in this REM stage. Again, when we talk about dreaming tomorrow, we'll talk quite a bit about why it's important. I know it's really funny. The reason that I actually got a fitness tracker wasn't to track my fitness, is because I wanted to track my sleep, right? I don't know. I love looking at my sleep data. You might be one of those people that loves looking at your sleep data too. And then you can just look away at that. Okay. If you're a person who's like, oh, I don't dream. You dream, you just don't recall it. What I would argue is if you're trying to catch yourself dreaming, set your alarm for about 20 minutes earlier than you normally wake up. And then you might actually catch yourself in that REM sleep. Another little important thing that I'm going to kind of talk about, right, is that there is genital arousal during REM sleep, and this happens in both physiological males and females. However, the dream does not have to be sexual, right? It is something about the way that the brain is processing during that time. So please keep that in mind, okay? All right, one last little thing that I want to look at with you, and then we are going to wrap it up in whatever time you guys have left. You can work on whatever it is you need to. Okay, maybe terms, something like that, as we approach the end of this unit. All right, so again, sorry about that. Just showing you this real quickly. So we are awake. And again, this is a graph that is dividing 3 and 4. We are now keeping those two things together. But again, right, as you cycle through the night, right, you're sleeping a little bit less deep, and we see that this REM process increases, right? This graph is showing you that as well. So REM sleep increases throughout the night, and your deep sleep decreases throughout the night. This is an old graphic, so it says stage 4, but remember, we combine stage 3 and 4 in modern research. All right, that's all I have. So take a nap if you want to, have a little sleep study of your own, work on some terms. Whatever it is that you do need to do it silently for the rest of the period, but feel free to do with it as you want, whether that's take a nap, that's what I suggest, or something else. I'll see you tomorrow.